Hello everyone, welcome back. In this video, we'll be covering static routing. This is a lengthy topic that we'll be breaking down into multiple parts. I'll be uploading one part every week, so let's get started. Static routing in Mikrotik routers involves manual configuring routing entries in the routing table. This method is useful for smaller networks or when specific routes need to be defined for traffic to reach its destination. Routing basics. Routing table. A routing table is a data table stored in a router or network computer that lists the routes to particular network destinations. In static routing, these routes are manually configured. Destination network. This is the network or subnet that you want to reach, for example 172.16.1.0/24. Next hop. The next hop is the IP address of the router that should be used as the next jump to reach the destination network. It's the IP address of the router interface that leads to the destination network. Gateway. In Mikrotik, the gateway is the same as the next hop. It's the router's IP address that leads to the destination network. A default route, also known as the gateway of last resort, is a route that is used when a packet is destined for a network not explicitly listed in the routing table. Essentially, it's the route that the router or host uses when it doesn't have a specific route for a destination network. In a routing table, the default route is often represented as 0.0.0.0/0, which means match any IP address with a subnet mask of 0 bits or send it to the specified gateway. Specific route. When you create a specific route, you are defining a path for packets to reach a particular destination. For example, let's say you have two networks connected by a router, network A and network B. If you want all traffic destined for network B to always go through a specific interface on a router, you would create a specific route for network B. Routing distance. The distance parameter in a route configuration defines the admin distance of that route. This is a crucial concept in routing, especially when you have multiple routes to the same destination. The admin distance is used by the router to determine which route to choose when it's multiple routes to the same destination network. A point-to-point network is a type of network topology where two devices, in this case two routers, are directly connected to each other with a single link. This link is dedicated to communication between these two devices only. It's like a private road between two houses. Only those two houses are directly communicate via that road. We have a network setup where we'll implement static routing. There are two upstream providers for internet access, with upstream 2 serving as a failover provider. The central point is an Iclix Mikrotik router, which establish point-to-point connection to all the locations, whether apartments or offices. Each apartment office is interconnected, such as apartment 1 to apartment 2 and apartment 2 to apartment 3. Enable local devices to communicate with each other. This is a virtual lab created in GNS3 where you can incorporate numerous Mikrotik routers without the need for physical Mikrotik devices. This allows you to experiment with network configurations and changes in a simulated environment before implementing them on a live network, ensuring they will work as intended. Let's begin configuring static routing on a Mikrotik. We'll be logging into the Iclix router to establish a point-to-point connection with our upstream providers. Let's perform a ping to check if we can reach the network of our upstream provider. Let's perform the same with upstream provider 2. going to add comments to specify which network is going where and on which interface. Both upstream provider 1 and 2 are providing us with 20 meg each. Let's check if we can ping 8.8.8.8 after connecting to our upstream providers. If we can't, it indicates that we need to instruct the Mikrotik to route internet through upstream provider 1. Now we will configure the Mikrotik to use the gateway of upstream provider 1 to reach the internet. And now we should be able to ping Google services. Let's create a route for upstream provider 2 with a distance of 2, indicating to the Mikrotik that it should be used as a backup provider. Now we can observe that upstream provider 1 is active, while provider 2 is displayed as the backup provider in blue. Let's test by disabling upstream provider 1 and check if we can still ping Google. After closing the IP route and reopening it, we observe that provider 2 becomes active, while provider 1 is unreachable. We are still able to ping Google services as we are now on the backup internet. Let's enable provider 1 and check if it takes the primary admin distance again. Here you can observe that it has become the primary link again. Now that we are connected to our providers, on the Iclix router we are going to establish point-to-point connections to the 3 apartments. We will be implementing default routing to instruct all the apartments to connect to the internet through our gateway, which is Iclix. Additionally, each apartment will be assigned a DHCP server for local devices to obtain an IP address and access the internet through Iclix. Also, we need to ensure that the NAT firewall on the Iclix router is configured to allow the apartment routers to know how to access the internet. I will log into my virtual PC to obtain an IP address from the Mikrotik server. After getting the IP, we will then test if we can access the internet.